So I just watched a video from a health and fitness lifestyle influencer who said tips I wish I knew before I was 25. So clearly she's a lot older than me, so I thought maybe I can learn something. So I watched the first minute of her video. And the first tip she said was a great tip. So I thought, okay. The second tip she gave was incredibly harmful health misinformation. Misinformation that will, and I'm not exaggerating, unfortunately. And I really don't want to be making this video. I would much rather live my little peaceful life. I don't understand how people care so little about health and give it such little importance. I don't understand when influencers share information about health that is their opinion, but they brand it as fact, or that they just say anything about health that they don't know to be true. And I just can't comprehend it. Health is too important to rely on people's opinions. You should only rely on facts. But the problem is most people don't fact check health information. I'm very evidence-based and I fact check things and I know my sources and but most people don't do that. If they see something from an influencer, they will believe it. And that's just, as a psychology student, that's just psychological. I don't blame them for that. But I do think it's irresponsible as somebody, especially with a really large following. She has a really large following, hundreds of thousands, millions, I don't know, a lot of followers, to then share information about health that you have not fact-checked, or that is the opposite of what, because she says in her video about this fact, everybody always says this bad, but actually it's really good. And then she continues to spew health misinformation, and I'll tell you what she said. The first tip she said was that having frozen berries on hand is really good because it's an easy source of antioxidants and fiber. Great tip, absolutely true. Very convenient, great tip. The second tip she said was, and she showed a video of her sprinkling salt on her meal. And she said, everybody always says that salt is bad because it makes you bloat. That was her reasoning why it's bad. But that's actually not true. It's actually really good. And it's kind of hard to explain, but it's if you're working out and you get cramps, that's because you don't have enough salt. If you're sweating a lot, you're losing salt, and so you have to consume more salt. Excess salt consumption is the #1 cause of death in the United States of America. I'm not exaggerating. In the Western developed world, excess salt consumption is the #1 cause of death. And she's saying salt is good. Add salt to your meal, that is good for your health. So that information will make people add salt to their meal, and that will lead to people dying. Because I will pop a couple links in the description. I want you to fact check information. I want you to fact check me. I want you to fact check things. I want you to get into the habit of fact checking health information, especially because health is life and death. Health is your life. Health is everything. If you don't have health, you have very little. I just really... Excess salt consumption is the #1 cause of death. Excess salt consumption leads to high blood pressure, for example, which increases your risk for heart disease, for a heart attack, for stroke. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in this country, and salt consumption leads to it. Excess salt consumption is literally the #1 cause of death. And she's saying salt consumption is good, add salt to your meal. Also, the reasoning that she gives is completely disproven. Salt, she said you need to consume salt to replenish your electrolytes after exercising. Completely false. Completely false. That has been scientifically debunked. That is absolutely not correct. That is what electrolyte drink companies would like you to believe. So there's a lot of advertising for that, and people who have a lot of vested interest in monetary gain in you believing that. But factually, that is incorrect. Athletes recover better from exercise if they consume water as opposed to if they consume electrolyte drinks. Again, I'll pop a link in the description. Fact check this. Fact check everything you hear on the internet about health. You have to know your sources. I, for example, evidence is so important to me. Health is so important and so fragile. And health misinformation is so dangerous. I will never tell you something that isn't evidence-based. But everybody else basically on the internet and not on the internet is not like that. And I really don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to fact check things. But all of these influencers are relying on you taking their word for it. And people do that. And so I'm too conscientious to not make this video. Even though I really don't want to. I would much rather have a peaceful, 10 minutes. But I can't. I just think that's so irresponsible to spew misinformation about health. I didn't even watch the rest of the video because I was so frustrated with this incredibly dangerous thing she was saying. And I could make videos like this every second of every day and not make enough videos to combat all of the health misinformation that is out there. I am not trying to hate on her specifically. I'm sure she had great intentions, but intentions are not good enough when it comes to health. You have to actually have facts backing what you're saying up. You can't just... Excess salt consumption is literally the #1 cause of death. And she's saying add salt to your meal. That's good, that's healthy. And people will believe her. So please don't listen to health influencers who spew opinions, because health is too important to rely on people's opinions. You should only rely on facts. Check out the link in the description or the account that I tagged or whatever, depending on what platform you're on. Check out nutritionfacts.org by Dr. Michael Greger. It's a non-profit organization that shares evidence-based nutrition, and that is where I get all my information, pretty much, because evidence-based nutrition is so important, because health misinformation is so dangerous. It can literally cost you your life. So, yeah, be careful.